Good morning, I'm Christine Dunbar with SpeechModification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. We've reached day 29 of our 30-day accent challenge. Congratulations to those of you who've been here from day 1 through the challenge, working on all of the pronunciation and intonation patterns you need to know about to improve your American accent. For those of you just joining in, you can view all of the videos for the previous classes on the playlist 30-day challenge. Just go to my channel page and you can find that there. If you'd like to be notified for future live classes, including our Friday question and answer classes, please subscribe to the channel. And if you click on the little bell, you can get notifications every time I'm live and when I upload new videos to the channel. So we've covered a lot of information in the past 29 days, and I'm excited to bring you 2 more classes. Today we're going to be talking about the NG sound in the middle and the ends of words. This is a sound that many people have accent patterns on, and I do have several videos for you about the NG sounds, both in my Sounds of English playlist and on some other playlists on my channel. So if you're interested in those, I'll put those below, and you can always go to the channel page and in the search box put in NG or any other sounds or words that you're looking for help with, and you can see what videos I've already made for those. I'll also have those videos available on my website. Good morning, SpeechModification.com. Each day of the challenge, I have an accompanying website entry that has additional practice materials and explanations for you. So make sure you check that out, SpeechModification.com, free resources, free online practice. So the NG sound, let's go over the basics of what you need to know. Thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you're here today. So we spell the NG sound with 2 letters in American English, N and G, but it's only one sound. And so sometimes people are misled by seeing the 2 letters, thinking that it's an N sound plus a G sound. You're so welcome. The errors that people often make on this sound is that either they will substitute an N sound, so a word like thin, like thing, might sound like thin, or they may have a little extra sound when they're saying that NG, almost like they're saying the G sound. Sometimes people think that they need to make that, and they will say thing or think, and sometimes it's a result of it's a result of their accent that extra little sound comes on there. They're trying to say thing, they accidentally say thing or think. So I'm going to teach you how to correct both of those different error patterns, and also we're going to look at a challenging situation where the NG sound is in the middle of words like singer or bringing that can present difficulties for people. So let's talk about NG and how we make that sound. So NG is a nasal sound. In American English, there are 3 nasals. The first is the M sound, mm. That one's the most obvious, why it's called a nasal, and that's basically because I'm cutting off the airflow. There's no sound or air coming out of my mouth. That's obvious. I'm closing my lips. There's no place for that air to escape. So the resonance actually escapes through my nose, and it sounds a little bit nasal. The next nasal sound is the N sound, and again, I'm sealing off the air. It can't release from my mouth. I'm sealing it off with my tongue behind my teeth. So I'm going to come in close. You can see my tongue is up. It's sealing off behind my teeth, and there's no place for that air to escape. Most people have an M and an N sound in their native language, and they don't have difficulty with making those sounds. But the NG sound, sometimes either you don't have it in your native language or it's pronounced and produced differently in your native language. So NG, the third nasal, I'm also sealing off my tongue against the roof of my mouth and not allowing any air to escape. But I'm doing so, hello Mohammed, I'm doing so with the back of my tongue lifting up. So I can feel this first of all, I can just try this on by itself. And you can see the front of my tongue is down. It's the back of my tongue lifting and sealing. It rests against the palate and beside the insides of my upper teeth. If you have trouble feeling this, you can try making the K and G sounds. K, G, we have to seal off the air in the same spot for K and G as we do for NG. This has something to do with why that extra K and G sound can sometimes sneak onto your NG. So try that sound by itself. So that's the NG sound and where we make it. What we typically do for any new sound is try some common words with that sound. And we're going to go through those, but stay with me because if you have difficulty making this sound, you'll need the tips on how not to make the N and how not to make that extra sound. So here's some common words that end with NG. Try thing, sing, going, doing, wanting. So maybe you tried those and maybe they sounded like thing or thin instead of thing. What you need to do in that case is try to make the sound, if you're making an N sound, what you want to do is touch the front of your tongue against your lower teeth. So we'll make the sound by itself and try making an N, and an NG. So my tongue is actually just very down at the bottom, the front of my tongue. But I can push it against my lower teeth to make sure that it's not the front of my tongue sealing off, that it's the back of my tongue. So now try that in a word. Thing, thing. You should feel your tongue going from the upper position in the I sound down to touch against your teeth. Thing. Or going. Might be easier to do going because when I say the G sound, going, my tongue is already up in that NG position and I just have to return to it after the vowel. Going, going. Or wanting, wanting. So if saying N instead of NG is your issue, that's one way to solve that. Try to keep the front of that tongue down. Look in the mirror and see if you can see your tongue going up. If you're saying doin' or goin', you'll see your tongue is going up. You want it to be doing, going. My tongue is going down, the front of my tongue. If your issue is that you tend to have doing or doing, that little extra sound, if you're not sure what your issue is, record yourself and listen. Maybe you'll be able to hear what it is. Or go to my website, speechmodification.com, and look at your native language overview. If you speak Mandarin, you're more likely to be saying an N instead of an NG. Or if you've heard Americans saying doin' and goin', you might be overgeneralizing that to other words. Then you're probably saying an N. But on my website, you can check under your native language in the free downloads and look up this sound NG, see what the pattern that is typical for your language and whether you add the extra sound or delete the sound, make the N. So if your error issue is that you're adding an extra sound to the NG, what you need to do to eliminate that is to not let your tongue release. So when I say sing, if I let my tongue drop down before my voice stops, sing, sing, then it creates that little G sound because I make the G sound by blocking the air and then releasing. It's called a plosive sound. It explodes out after I release my tongue. Thing. I don't want that extra G sound there. I have to keep my tongue up and stop my voice first. Thing. Thing. One way to achieve this is hold your longer and then consciously feel that you're stopping your voice before you release your tongue. Thing, thing. Now this works if I'm just saying that word by itself, and that's where I recommend starting, getting your NG without the G or K added on by itself first. Then it becomes more challenging to try to say it when you have to move into another sound like singer or singing. I have to say another sound after the NG. We'll talk about that in just a minute. When you have your NG sound on the ends of words, then the next step is to try some repeated phrase practice. Just like we've been doing for our other pronunciation patterns, it's all well and good to be able to say words with the sounds by themselves, but if you can't put them together with other words while you're thinking of what to say, then it's not going to change in your everyday speech. So an intermediary step is repeated phrase practice. Let's try some. We'll try some with going to. Going to talk, going to work, going to a friend's. Let's try some with talking about. Talking about it. Talking about that. Talking about work. Talking about next week. Now you can make up your own phrases with doing, going, talking, etc. Sometimes when the NG is in the middle of the words, actually quite often when NG is in the middle of the word, we do have a G sound together. So it's the NG spelling, we'll say NG and G. Thanks, Mohammed. So words like finger, linger, we actually say ng and g, finger. I do say a G sound. But when it doesn't have the G sound, like singer, ringing, what you have to do is to release your NG into the vowel without letting that G or K sound sneak in there. So in order to do that, I recommend practicing just the NG into the vowel. For example, try inger, inger, and make sure the front of your tongue stays down, inger, so it doesn't go to an N, inner, inger, and make sure that you are gentle as you're releasing your tongue, and that you're starting to get ready into that pulled back position before you release, inger. So it's helpful to be thinking about the vowel, excuse me, and trying not to let air build up when you're making your ng sound. If I build up a lot of air, inger, then it's going to come out in that g sound, inger, inger. When I relax and release my tongue right into the then I can make it without that G sound. So try inger, inger, singer, bringer. Let's try that with ing words that end with ng, ing. So for example, bringing. We're going to start with the inging, inging. So I'm starting with the ng and releasing into the vowel. It's basically like a very light lowering of the tongue and raising it back up for another ng. Inging, inging. This one can be difficult because my tongue does need to come up for the I, inging, and go back down for the ng sound, inging. But actually I don't really raise my tongue as much as I normally would for the ng. I'm almost eliminating that vowel. It's almost like I'm saying two ngs in a row. Let's try it in some words. Singing, bringing. Very good. So today was our second to last day of the 30-day challenge. I hope you can join me tomorrow for day 30. We'll be looking at a review of some of the things we've covered in class, any last minute questions or concerns you have about the 30-day challenge, and checking on your progress. So if you've worked your way through all of these videos, either in our live class today, now in January 2018, or later if you're watching the playlist and working your way through, you'll be able to check and see, okay, can I apply some of the things I've learned in this class on day 30 as I'm checking on my progress on my speech. So I'm excited to see the progress that you've made. It's been wonderful to have your comments and questions. And join me tomorrow for day 30, and then again on Friday for my live question and answer class, where you can bring any questions you have about the 30-day challenge or about American accent training in general, pronunciation, intonation, etc. I'm Christine Dunbar for SpeechModification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. SpeechModification.com.